This post-game rant is brought to you by BetUS. The Titans scored more than 17 points, so you know what that means. Yep, and if you're a Houston Texans fan, you may not want to miss this because I'm about ready to go off on you and your team. Next. So the Tennessee Titans do win 32-27 against the Houston Texans. That's the third win for the Tennessee Titans. And oh yeah, by the way, that's Will Levis's first win as the Titans 2024 starting quarterback. So congratulations to him. The second thing is the Tennessee Titans are now undefeated. That's right, undefeated in 2024 when they scored more than 17 points. They did it against the Dolphins. They did it against the Patriots, although it took overtime. And they just did it again against the Houston Texans. And that didn't take overtime, and they did put up 32 points. So why am I going after the Texans? Because I'm flat out going to tell you. The Tennessee Titans played a good game. They did a lot of good things in this game. They also did some bad things. They threw a pick six. They had a couple dumb fumbles, right? But the bottom line is the Titans played good enough to win. The only thing is the Titans probably should have won by 10 or more points. Maybe the Titans should have been 9-point favorites in this game rather than the Houston Texans. Here's where I'm going with my post game. I know some people will be going more with the Titans and they'll be doing this and they'll be doing that, and that's fine or whatever. But this game meant a lot to the Titans coaching staff and the front office, and I'll explain that later. But let me focus on the Texans. This is the first time I've watched the Houston Texans play an entirety of a football game this year. I've watched them in other games. I watched them a little against the Bears, but I've not watched a full game. And honestly, now they're 7-5, and yeah, the Colts, they also lost to the Lions. Lions, by the way, if you're watching me and you're over at Detroit Lions Nation, you guys are the best team in the NFL right now, even over the Chiefs, who just barely squeaked one out against the Panthers. But the Houston Texans should be the story of this game. There's really nothing to do with the Titans, other than it's the Titans channel. The Houston Texans, I'm going to say it, they're not very good. They're overrated. They're flat out overrated. The Titans played a good game. I'll give you that, right? You know, Will Levis is really good on his first reads. There was one time where he had the pick six, but it felt like even Fairbairn or whatever misses the field goal there to go to overtime. Well, would have went to overtime, you would have thought, the 28-yarder. And congratulations to him on breaking the record of the most 50-yard field goals during the season. Womp, 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 because that honestly doesn't matter if you can't make a 28-yard field goal. But C.J. Stroud, he threw it right to us. To Brownlee one time. He had another bad pick later in the game. The Titans weren't able to capitalize on those turnovers. I think they only had 3. They had 8 sacks. Count them up. 8 of them. 7 in the first half. And yet the Titans are still winning at halftime, 20-17. It took Will Levis to take 8 sacks. And yeah, most of them were on Levis. And it also took him to throw a pick 6. And yet the Titans still win by 5 points. And let's not kid ourselves. Everybody picked the Texans to win as a 9-point favorite. And ultimately, the Titans went into their house and paid a little revenge back from last year and the whole Houston Oiler uniform debacle where somebody ended up getting fired over it. And that leads me to the next point of the rant is, honestly, you probably can argue now Callahan's job is secure next year. He beat the Texans in Amy's house. And that's what Amy Adams really cares about. Cares about the Titans going in and not embarrassing themselves and beating the Texans in the process. So that's a good job. Rand, that's a good job. Brian Callahan, unfortunately, is going to make me really upset by saying this after the debacle at the start of the game and Jaquan Jackson fumbling later in the game. But special teams coach Colt Anderson probably also gets another pass. And let's not kid ourselves, that guy's awful as well. And shout out to our friends over at BetUS. Use that promo code YouTube150 for a 150% bonus. Yeah, that's right. 150% bonus on your first deposit and 125% on deposits 2 and 3 up to $2K over at BetUS. Will Levis would have won you on the over for throwing it. He had 278. Nick Westbrook-Akine did enough in the first half at 48 yards. He would have won it for you. But unfortunately, Will Levis needed the over on the run department if you took the parlay, and he fell just a little bit short of that. I believe he had 12 rushing yards, but he did have 11 in the first half to keep you alive. But that's the beauty of BetUS. There's so much fun to have over there. Use that promo code YouTube150 and get yourself that 150% bonus on your first deposit. Just to make this really quick, the Texans I'm disappointed in. Yeah, why am I a Titan fan disappointed in you? Maybe you were trying to sabotage our season with being the number one pick. I don't know. But you got a lot of work to do because you're going to have to return the favor to Jacksonville. So when you look at us, like your defense was supposed to be no joke. I mean, you are a top or number 4 overall defense, and we were slicing through that like butter. I mean, we were going up and down the field. We were making big play after big play. It took us to get hit in the right cheek of a buttocks in Tyler Boyd, which we still recovered. It took Will Levis handing the ball off to Pollard, which ESPN said it was Levis's fault. I'm going to argue it was Pollard's fault. So you had that fumble debacle inside the Texans territory. And then you ultimately had the pick six also in the Texans territory. I mean, there was every little thing the Titans gave you, and you still lost to a 2-win football team. 2-win football team. And here's the beauty of this game. You have nobody to blame but yourself. You have nobody to blame. But again, it's not about us. Stop living in a world where it's always about us. You compare yourself to us all the time. We're terrible this year. So if you want to compare ourselves, yeah, that's right. You were more terrible than us this game. So anybody gets a shout out to you guys because you're so worried about us that you actually had a few Titans on your team and they didn't even have revenge games. That's the beauty of it as well. But CJ Stroud didn't look very good. You got a dominant defensive line performance. You got a quarterback who was looking around and just get sacked all the time, put himself out of field goal range. Luckily, Folk kicked a 56-yard field goal to take the lead at halftime. But I was not afraid at all of you guys in the second half once we took the lead again because you didn't show really anything. And that's coming from a Titans fan. Not trying to disrespect y'all, but for you to sit and hoot and holler about how great you were to start the season, and remember, it was us that gift wrapped you the division last year by taking one to the Jaguars and beating the Jaguars and allowing you to win the division. Let's not forget that. Like I said, if there's anybody who should be to blame, it's you, Houston Texans. Shout out to Sweat, by the way, getting a sack today. Sweat played pretty well, even came off a double team. The Titans did just what they needed to do on defense to get the win. They were a lot of guys out today. They had some injuries. They had some big concerns. They overcome them. Again, special teams wasn't great, but Folk hit a pair of 50-yard field goals. And, for how the game went with Levis, I mean, he did do a pretty decent job. I would say even with the pick six and even with the sack debacle that he had in the half, he did enough to win the game. And he looked better than CJ did. And that's just me being honest. We shut you down in the run department. Mixon was never really a threat. And you might have had a few plays here or there from some busted coverages. You had a terrific start. But the bottom line didn't matter because the Tennessee Titans even tried to gift wrap you a win late in the game and you still didn't take advantage of it. Shout out to my Titans. 3rd win of the season. Again, undefeated, scoring over 17 points. And shout out to our friends over at BetUS. 150% bonus when you use that promo code YouTube150 on your first deposit.